Good morning. It's a little bit cold. I'm back where I'm supposed to be, so I can go to work later. But today we're gonna do a theme video on essentially my father, Ronald Ralph Saffels. It was my great grandfather, technically speaking, but the only father figure I ever really had, the only good example for a man I ever had in my life. I was digging around for pictures before because I got a picture of him in like 1950, 1960s, a black and white picture where he's being fake arrested at his car lot by I guess his cop friends or something. It's an amazing photo, but I don't have it with me. This is the only one I actually have. This is the one I keep on my dash. This is trying to kind of shade it from a little bit, but yeah, that's my father, I guess, my great grandfather, however you'd like to, I guess, imagine it. Sad where he's standing where he lives, and this picture was taken 9 years before he passed away. It was 2007, which I think is honestly not that long after my grandma passed. So yeah, it was definitely a sad time. We were visiting the grave sites, and I think I've visited the grave sites maybe twice since he passed in 2016. When he passed, I was, living in my car and everything. I couldn't exactly come up to bury him or, do his eulogy, which is kind of sad because, I didn't think I'd be able to do it. I was so emotional. I just lost my, my father and my only family member that I was close with whatsoever. Someone who I seen every single day, someone who I had been caring for off and on. So it would have been really hard for me to read to do a eulogy for him. On top of the fact that I don't know, there was a lot going on. Yeah, there was just a lot going on after he passed away. And yeah, I had to wait for we had like a joint bank account, and I had to wait for the money to hit to pay for his funeral. And my aunt, who, dude, they have more than enough money for it. Yeah, they were sweating me about the $9,000, like I wasn't gonna pay them the $9,000 to bury my grandpa or whatever, or the $10,000. I had to pay whatever the number was. It didn't matter. I guess. Not that I had a lot, but it's some scumbag stuff, But either way, that's about my great grandfather. He worked at Goodyear for 35 years. He retired. He worked in the Banburys for a little bit, I think. He was like building tires and stuff. But he worked there for 35 years. He also owned some like real estate. He owned duplexes and apartments, and the only house I remember them living in up here was like a duplex in, I think it's Greene, Ohio. It's kind of near Arlington. It was a little duplex. It was actually a massive duplex, I guess you could say. It just looked like a giant barn, but like, it just looked like a giant barn, but it was brown and it had windows, and it was just modeled to be a duplex. So he lived there. When I was growing up, I remember like 3-4 years old digging in the backyard and stuff. Yeah, I think he still worked on different things because he also owned like apartment units that he showed me, but I didn't actually see him work on it. I didn't know anything about it. So eventually he retired, and he kind of just decided he didn't want to deal with it anymore, because imagine if all your kids and all your grandkids are just like intermittent drug addicts and are all like just doing crazy things and stuff all the time. Like, I don't know. I think at a certain point he was just like, I want to retire in Florida because, it's just, again, talking about crisis management, I think he was just like, him and my grandma were the thing that held our entire family together. They were literally the lifeline for everyone to call, to ask for help, for anything like that, right? And then they were just like, we're done, we're moving to Florida. And they did. They just moved away. I think they were done with everyone's BS. And they were tired of the, well, I think they were tired of the cold too. Probably more than everyone's BS. And I don't blame them. Because it's miserable up here. Like, nobody likes the cold. Like, it's no reason to be up here unless you have family or a purpose to be here, right? Yeah. But my grandpa was always a very, very strong man. Yeah, I think he just kind of did everything himself, and he was born, he was born February 14th, so Valentine's Day, 1930. So right at the Depression, in West Virginia. Yeah. It was either in West Virginia or in Ohio, because I can't remember if it was my grandma or my grandpa that are from West Virginia. It's one or the other. So yeah, born during the Depression, so you can imagine, his upbringing and stuff. And I don't know, I kind of want to do this video because I did the one video a little bit about my mom, and my grandpa was definitely the second most important person to me because he was around for so long. You know what I mean? Like, imagine if your mom is gone at like 8 or 9, and then you got your grandma and your grandpa, your great grandma and your great grandpa, and your great grandma is around for another like maybe 4 years maybe, and then she's gone, and then you got your grandpa for like another like 10. You know what I mean? It's just you and him for 10 years. So you can imagine how close you would be to that person, right? Yeah. And it was pretty hard, and I just miss him a lot. And I was thinking about it yesterday, and you always used to tell bad jokes. My anger used to be worse. Like, sadly, I always get upset, and I tend to get upset with just whoever's around me. So it's hard, to have anyone around me or people to be around me, because I usually just end up getting upset at people at a certain point or whatever. So I'm a very hard person to be around. And like, it was just kind of like my best friend in a lot of ways. My father figure, the person who, I don't know, taught me manners, kind of modeled, I don't know, my life and things after. In a way, right? So yeah, just a great man. I don't know. I think at one point he had like a drinking problem and maybe slept around on my grandpa. But dude, the men that I've seen nowadays are like, yeah, that's literally nothing. He didn't do anything. My grandparents were married for God, it was like 50-something years, man. Before my grandpa passed, they were married for like 50-something years. It's such a long commitment. I haven't even been alive for that long. It's insane. Yeah. But my grandpa was a real strong, independent man. He was always very outgoing, very boisterous. Like, he wouldn't care. Like, we would go to Walmart sometimes, and if he got into a conversation with somebody, like, he might just start talking to someone, we might stay at this frickin' Walmart for an hour while he just talks to people. I hated it. I had all my own stuff going on in my head, but I hated it at the time. But yeah, he was such a character, man. I can't explain it. He was like inappropriate, but he was so old, and he was like 5'5" because he shrank so much. I guess just the rough life. Like, I think he used to be like 5'11" or 6 foot, and I think he shrunk down to like 5'2", 5'3". It was so short. Oh man. Oh god. I miss him. But yeah. Like, he would greet women with hugs, and we're not talking about like 15 years ago, although he's doing it back then. We're talking about like up until the day that he died. Like, he would meet women and greet them and just give me a hug. And he would tell some inappropriate jokes, man. He was built so different than anybody that you've known. You have no idea. It was just, yeah. And he used to tell these bad jokes, you know. And again, I was always angry, and but he could always find a way to. I untied my shoe and I distracted myself. He could always find a way to make me smile, and I would always get mad, and then I start biting my lip because I don't want to laugh or anything, and he'd just start like telling jokes and like saying stupid stuff, right? Yeah. And he always used to tell us one. It's so stupid. It got me a couple of times. He said, "You know, I got an idea, Andrew. we could get a whorehouse, and we could buy a whorehouse, and we could run it by hand till we get some help. You know." And that one always just kind of made me laugh. It's so stupid. And I was thinking about it. Thinking about it yesterday, you know, and I would give just about anything for him to come back and tell me some corny jokes. And it's so stupid because when he was here, I didn't really care, you know? So that's the worst part. At the time, I didn't have any appreciation for it. So then, you know, like a long time after he's been gone, I miss it. I miss the stupid jokes. And, you know, just him. Because I was always so like reserved and closeted, I guess. That imagine having someone who is pretty much just instantly everyone's best friend with you at all times. So it was, you know, it definitely was like a counter to my personality in a lot of ways. And yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's hard, and then not having anyone at all anymore makes it harder, I guess, because you don't have anyone that you can talk to, or you know, that cares if you're around, or that, you know, anything. I don't know. I don't know. I kind of miss that. Like, yeah, me and my grandpa, like we just spent like every day together for such a long time. I don't know. Like, sometimes we wouldn't even say anything. We'd just go all day just grunting at each other, just by, yeah. He was so lost after Grandma was gone. He just lost so much weight. She used to cook him 3-course meals a day. She used to cook him like 3 meals a day, like multi-course meals. And then after she was gone, he would just eat like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I finally got him to the point where he would cook an egg for himself. He'd cook an egg, and then I got him where he'd cook bacon and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It was having someone who is literally everyone's best friend as soon as he meets them, and who is like so disarming when you meet them that I don't know. It's just, yeah. He was such a nice and sweet guy that he had been taken advantage of by people many times as the years went on. You know what I mean? Like, paying some asshole to cut down. It was supposed to be a bunch of tree limbs, and instead he cuts down one tree limb for $350 or $650 or something ridiculous. Just some a-hole. Yeah, there was a few of those, you know, towards the end. It's bad how people try and take advantage of people's kindness, but also just the elderly people's kindness, because I don't know, I think I think part of it is that as you get older, you assume that people will be helpful to you and more helpful to you, I guess. And that, I don't know. I think that's a part of it. And so you're more trusting because you're like, well, I'm old. Like, why would you do this to me? I don't know. But yeah, my grandpa was he was a car salesman. He owned a car dealership. He owned apartments. Worked on the apartments. He owned lots of different cars. Probably my favorite car that he had was his blue, like 88, 89 diesel Mercedes with blue, like leather interior all the way around. It was a gangster car. I barely remember it, but I love that car. That was a cool car. And then he had his E4. Well, we had a couple. There was like Oldsmobiles and things. I think, Buicks or Oldsmobiles, different things. He had the Mercedes E420, I think it was, or E320, E420. He had that one. He had this car. Yeah, and then I inherited one. And I was supposed to inherit this car, but because it wasn't notarized by a notary, they wouldn't honor it, which was super weird because Grandpa had told people like many times over like that he was giving me the car and that it was written in the will that I got the car, and then they were just like, no, we're gonna report it stolen and all types of stuff. So I just had to pay for my car. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna go out to his grave this year and put flowers. I didn't go last year. I have skipped a few years going just because I'm not in a good place, man. Like, I hate to. I don't know that there's a thereafter, right? I don't know, But if there was, like, I like him to know that I care and that, I honor his memory, I guess. And also, I know nobody else goes out there. Everyone's already told me they don't go out there and they don't visit or do nothing. Back before whatever happened, and I end up living in the hotels. Yep. So, and he loved putting fake flowers on my grandma's grave. So, in his spirit, I always bring fake flowers. I never bring real flowers. I bring fake flowers. So I'm gonna bring fake flowers. I'm gonna take off his birthday, Valentine's Day, and just go down there and hang out, put flowers on his grave, and have like a good cry, and just remember him, I guess. Like I say, I've always been very like sick, and there's been a lot of things wrong with me, and the fact that he never I don't know, had me thrown away in jail or locked away in some asylum or something, because he definitely could have. I definitely was absolutely out of control. So yeah, I don't know. I just miss him, I miss stories. That man could tell a story. Like, I had heard pretty much all of them, but he had told me. He told me so many stories. There was one where he was like, "Well, I was going up a hill." It was back in, I think, like the 40s or something. He was leaving base or something like that, or something like that, traveling back and forth. And he's like, "Yeah, I went up this huge hill, and when I got to the top of it, I could not believe how far down it was and how straight down it was." And he's like, "Well, I don't want to kill the brakes, so I'm just going to turn the car off," or something like that. So he gets to going down this hill, and maybe the car stalls or something. And he's like, "I barely could keep it on the road. I couldn't get it in gear. I couldn't get it to go." Yeah. Yeah, dude, my grandpa was a trip and a character. And I always I keep his canes in the passenger seat. I keep 2 of his canes. he never needed the cane. Like I say, like he was real strong up until like maybe 70. He was real strong until about 80, right? He didn't need the cane. He could walk around. He could do his own thing. He could take the dog on long walks and do all the stuff. And then when I gave him that, when I got the pneumonia and he had the double pneumonia, and then he spent like the next 4 or 5 months, in rehab. And then as soon as he got back, he broke his back. Like, he was using a cane then. Like, me giving him pneumonia was pretty much the thing that ultimately ended up killing him. I mean, it pushed him down the path where he just got too weak and he couldn't make it. Yeah. And it was, the way he went was real bad. I'm very paranoid. You can only imagine, right? And so he had, this is going to be a 30-minute thing. And so so the first time he got sick, right? I would sleep a lot during the day, right? And it wasn't a big deal because literally nothing had ever happened to him and I never had any issues. And I would just sleep a lot during the day. And there was a day where, like, he went to bed real early, or I hadn't seen him all day or something like that. And I went and looked in his room, and I can't remember if I just seen blood on something or if something was wrong. Yeah, I think like maybe I heard him get up, or I wasn't sure, or something like that. And then eventually, like, he's got blood on his face, and he hit his head and everything else. And then he's in the bathroom, and I'm like, hey, let's go to the hospital. Come on, let's go to the hospital. I want to take him to the hospital. And he doesn't want to go, and he's just in there, he's peeing, and I'm standing behind him, because he looks like he got hit in the face, and I want to take him to the hospital. And yeah. But he doesn't want to go. And then while he's peeing or whatever, I'm standing behind him in the doorway. It's a real small bathroom, actually. It's like a closet-sized bathroom. But there's a shower in there. And so I'm just standing behind him, and he's peeing. And he just, like, passes out or something. He just, like, goes limp and falls back at me. And I catch him, you know what I mean? Like, obviously I catch my freaking grandpa. Like, and then I just drag a body onto the bed. Like, I essentially, like, grab him, and I'm screaming, and I'm dragging him to the bed, and then I just kind of, like, lay on the bed and pull him on top of me, and then roll him off of me a little bit, and then I'm just kind of screaming and panicking, like, what do I do, And then, I don't know how long went by, 30 seconds or a minute, and then, because I assume he had died, and I just carried his body over. But that's not what happened. Like 30 seconds or a minute, I see him breathing. And so I get out the cell phone and I just call an ambulance, and I wait for them to come, and he regains consciousness. After that, because I thought he died, and I was like trying to think what I was gonna do and what to do, and but no, he didn't die. He just passed out. He could have got hurt real bad if I didn't catch him, but, I was there. So, I catch him, drag him on the bed. The ambulance comes and gets him, and he's up, and he's talking to him and stuff, and I'm like, I want him to go. I don't really care. I want him to go either way. It's not really going to be up to him. Even though it was up to him at the time, because I didn't have medical power of attorney and stuff yet, but he needed to go. Like, he hit his face and all types of stuff, and then he went into the hospital, and like, he was okay at first. Like, he was fine. Like, he wasn't great. Like, it clearly looked like he got hit in the face, and he didn't feel good. And yeah, maybe like a concussion or something, I'm not sure. Because again, he fell during the day, and I don't know when he fell or what happened, but I didn't find out until much later at night, because I was sleeping during the day like a degenerate. And yes, I just didn't find out so much later during the day that he had hit his face or that he had got hurt. And I think he said that he was yelling for me or something when he did it, which made me feel so bad. Because I definitely didn't hear him. I had a room upstairs. Yeah. Yeah, that makes me feel bad. I just didn't hear him. You know, I used to sleep like a rock. You couldn't wake me up for anything. A thunderstorm, I just won't wake up. He went to the hospital, and then he was fine. You know, he wasn't great, but he was okay. And then I don't know, after a day or 2 days or a week or something, he took a real bad turn for the worst. And I don't know, they put him on a big ventilating machine, and he couldn't breathe. And yeah, so I went to the hospital, and I remember just sitting with him all day, and I just couldn't stop crying for the whole day. I spent the whole day just crying, because it was just, he's like sitting up, like in the up position, like it's strapped into a bed with like a huge mask on that was breathing for him. And I don't think he was conscious. So yeah, I don't know, I just sat there all day crying. And they brought a group of people into the room, like I don't know. I'm just sitting there crying like all day, and then they just bring like a huge group of people into the room. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you here? Yeah. That was bad. I think he was on that for like a few days or a week. He was in the hospital for like a month, 2 months. And it was not a close hospital to where I lived, I can tell you that. It's like an hour away or 45 minutes away. And I would go there every single day to check on him. Every day. Make sure he was okay. You know? And yeah, after he came off the ventilator, by that time, crackhead Grandma Brenda had showed up, and I had to tell everyone that he was very sick and all these things. I think I don't remember the time of space, man. Like, it's a big block of about 6 months of just, I don't know what, and then, yeah. But he's in the hospital, sick. And then it was kind of rough because there was like a few days or a week where he didn't know where he was. Because if you would give him any type of pain medication, I mean, even in like a couple milligrams of anything, he would hallucinate. Like, he would have vivid hallucinations. Maybe he did acid back in the day. I don't know, right? But he would have these very vivid hallucinations. And they'd be bad, man. He was like hallucinating that we were like on a farm somewhere, and Brenda was his other daughter, and I was Jimmy. It was bad. Like, he was having vivid hallucinations. And again, like, you couldn't even give him half of a pain pill, or even a quarter of a pain pill, because he would have these vivid hallucinations. Right? But so he makes it through the week or whatever because he's kind of recovering. And then I think they wean him off stuff because he'd gotten his mind back, right? Like, we would come check on him every day, and then he'd kind of pulled it back together after a couple of days. And he had tried to escape a few times because he thought they were there to harm him. I was like, nobody's here to harm you, buddy. Yeah. It was bad, man. And then I got food poisoning from Wendy's. Bad chicken nuggets. I got food poisoning for a week when he first went into the hospital. Like I say, that was like when he first went in, like, he was fine, right? And then I got E. coli or something for a week, so bad that I was like, dude, I want to come check on you, but like, I'm bleeding every time I can't move. I can't do anything. Like, even just the walk from his room to the car was so bad. That's how bad I had E. coli. You know what I mean? So I was just like, all right, dude, you seem like you're okay. And so I think I just stayed home for a couple of days. And then, I don't know if they didn't call me or whatever, but I think the next time I went to see him he was on the ventilator machine and everything else. It's horrible, man. It's so bad. Like, I thought, I didn't think he was ever going to make it. And then, eventually they were going to release him from the hospital, and we were going to send him to the rehab center, which I think he's at the hospital for like a month or so. And then we were going to send him to the rehab center. We picked him, a rehab center he wanted to go to. Yeah, it was like an outpatient type thing. And it was like, just like a little hotel room. And they would just come and work with him every day and feed him. And I'd bring him a newspaper. Sometimes I'd bring him like a Wendy's Frosty and stuff. Like whatever he wanted. I'd whip him up an egg sandwich sometimes. Just whatever I could do for him. And he was in there for, I think, 2 months. He's in the rehab center. And then he got out. And then he went, within 5 minutes of getting home, not even, he sits down at the kitchen table. I go to use the bathroom because I had to go to the bathroom really bad. I was like, hey, just chill out for a second. Like, please let me use the bathroom, and then I'll come back, and then, we can work forward, right? Like, because he had just gotten home. And, so he just stands up out of the chair, falls, and breaks his back. Fresh out of rehab, fresh out of the emergency room. He has not been home in like 3 months. Just breaks his back. We go to the emergency room. They do x-rays, they give him a thing, and they try and work on, they try and give him, rehab at the house and stuff like that. And it just never got better. Like, between him breaking his back, the pneumonia, and everything else, it ended up killing him. And after the first time he got sick like that, I think it was a couple years before he passed away, like 2 or 3. At my space of time, we'll just have to go with what I guess. Yeah. So, after the first time, like I said, I remember how I thought, like, he was yelling for me or whatever. Or he said he was, or... at that point, like, I would just constantly check on him. And when I say check on him, I mean, I would just, he had a whistle in case anything went wrong, but he's gonna whistle if he's dead? So, I would just, multiple times a night, I would just go down and just watch him sleep, see if he's breathing. Because I was so paranoid and worried something was gonna happen, man. Yep. And every time he got up at night, if I could hear him get up, I would just kind of wait outside the room. Wait for him to get up, go to the bathroom, go back to bed, and then I would go on about and then I would go back upstairs. Yep. And it was bad, man, because I just was so worried about him. And this went on for a long time. Yeah. And then I don't remember what happened again. Maybe I was sleeping during the day. I don't know. But at one point he was like, he had fallen and stuff because he still had like low blood pressure, I guess. And yeah, he had fallen a few times. Like fallen, hit his face, and different things like that. He messed his hands up real good, and I would be the one who's like, all right, are we going to the emergency room, or are we just like kind of patching you up? Because sadly, it was something that was happening. I would say maybe it happened 6 times maybe in however many years since the first time he had gotten sick. There was one over at the neighbor's, like he fell, and like I said, he cut his hands up real bad, and I bandaged his hands up and everything. Yeah. But for the most part, he didn't care, man. He didn't care about being sick. He didn't care about, I think, dying. I think everyone was gone, man. Your wife's gone. Your kids are gone. Everyone's gone. Because Brenda had died, before he did. Brenda actually did pass away. We're not sure. I'm not even sure how. I think it was like a drug overdose, maybe. But yeah. So all his kids were gone. Pretty much all his grandkids were not around. His wife was gone. Yeah. So I think he was ready to go. He didn't mind. And he just liked to hang out with the neighbor. And he would get, if he stood up too fast, he would just get low blood pressure and pass out. And he had fallen a few times, like I say. But as long as they weren't real bad, it was okay. And he was still, yeah. And we have lost our dog too, We didn't have Spike anymore. So he didn't have anything other than me, I guess. And I was, I don't know what he thought. I think he either thought that I was going to make it if I had to, or he thought that I was probably going to be dead. I just off myself. I think he thought one or the other. I'm not sure what he thought exactly, but yeah. He wasn't sticking around for me anymore, you know what I mean? Not exactly a pleasant person to be around. So yeah. But yeah. And then one night, I can't remember again if I was asleep or what, and something happened. And I was begging him to go to the hospital again. I can't remember why. I'm sorry, my memory's so bad. I know I was begging him to go to the hospital. I was like, please, 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 can we go to the hospital? Like, I can't remember why. I think he said he didn't feel good, or he was like trying to go to bed early or something. There was something wrong. And I was begging him to go to the hospital. I was like, please, can we go to the hospital? I'll just drive you. And he's like, no, I don't want to go. Please, Andrew, stop. No. I think it's because he knew he was going to die. Just begging me to stop. And then he's just standing in the bathroom being, no. That was the first time. Where he's sitting on the bed next to me and he doesn't look good. And I'm just, no. I came downstairs and he was just shaking. I came downstairs because I think he was peeing or I had seen him doing something. And he was just shaking. He did not look good. And I was just begging him to go to the hospital. And then I was sitting on the bed and I was just like, please let me take you to the hospital. Let's just go. And he just didn't want to go. And then in the middle of the conversation, he just kind of falls over on the bed and starts trying to swallow his tongue. He just starts making a real bad noise. And it was just him trying to swallow his tongue. I guess he had a brain aneurysm, bleed in the brain. And in the middle of a conversation with me, begging him to go to the hospital. He wouldn't go. And yeah. I don't think it would have mattered. I don't know. Maybe I stressed him out too much. Maybe I put him under too much stress. Yelling at him to go to the hospital. Either way, he falls onto the bed, and I can tell he's breathing because he's making a real bad noise, right? He sounds like he's snoring, but he's not. He's not snoring. It's not actually what he's doing. And I didn't know how bad it was because I was like, oh, maybe it'll be okay, right? Because he's still breathing. I'm like, maybe he just needed some help or something. And then we go to the hospital. And we get there. I don't know how bad it's going to be. I finally get there. I get into the thing, and the lady's like, hey, your grandfather had a... She kind of, was roundabout explaining it to me for a second, and then, ultimately came to the point of, He's gone. He's brain dead. The person he was will never be back in any way. What would you like us to do? And I'm like, well, I know what he wanted, us to do, And my family was like mad at me kind of about it, right? Like, even though they knew that's what he wanted, some of them were kind of mad that I had pulled the plug. That's what he wanted. Like, why would you do that? I don't know. But some people were mad at me that I did that. It's like, he was brain dead, man. He was never going to be the same person again. He was never going to tell jokes. He was never going to be there with us in the same way. There's no reason that I would do that, And then I went in the room and I said my goodbyes, crying, screaming, so bad that I made the priest leave and the nurses leave. Everyone left. Because I lost my father. The only person I have left is gone. He's gone, And I hadn't even considered how bad my life would get, Whatever, 6 years later, 7 years later, it just, I didn't even think about how bad it would get. I didn't even care at the time. It didn't mean anything to me. It was more just like I lost the only person I cared about. It was gone. So, this has been tremendously long. But, my grandfather was a tremendous man. And I feel he deserved, to have a bit of his story told. Even though it's definitely not all of it. He is definitely the person. A lot of my bad traits and a lot of my bad things are from me and my mom and from a lot of other places. But a lot of the good things about me, including, I guess, my speech skill, you want to call it that. Like, I don't know. I'm not great at speaking and I'm not great at a lot of different things, but I'm actually pretty good at, like, speech, right? I'm pretty good at, I'm pretty good about being able to get the things that I want out of a conversation or making certain points or different things. Like, trust me, persuasion, I'm good at persuasion, okay? And definitely part of it's, my grandfather and, my manners that I don't have as well anymore, but I still, pretty mannerable. I get all these things from him, man. And if there's one thing I know for sure, is that he would be really proud. He'd be proud of me. I haven't given him a grandchild or anything like that. I don't think he ever thought I would or cared. But I think he would be proud that I'm at least, surviving. He would hate to see me like, this is absurd circumstances. That nobody should really have to live in or whatever. But he'd be proud that I'm at least making it or I'm at least trying still. This long after everyone's gone. Because I'm just doing it for myself, It's not like I'm doing it for anyone else. So, yeah. I miss him so much, He knew how much I loved him. We used to tell each other, like, I love you every night before you go to bed. I always tell him, I love you, good night, I don't know. Because, I don't know. That was just my father, man. And I miss him, I miss him all the time. That was the last family member I had, and, it's just gone. It's the last person. Nobody to tell me bad jokes anymore. Nobody to be the center of attention in a room so I can just, hide in a corner. I don't know. This has been more than long enough. Yeah. I miss my grandpa. I miss all of them. I miss everyone. But I miss my grandpa probably the most. Yeah. I'll just sit down with him and hang out and shoot the shit. Like, that's what you say. You want to shoot the shit? Like, yeah. I wish I would have spent more time talking to him. But again, I just didn't appreciate it at the time. And, yeah, some of this is kind of because I was watching Tom. He's kind of Tom Syndicate. he seemed like he was going through a thing with his dad and everything, and I put a comment. I was like, yeah, dude, appreciate the time, man. You never know how much you're gonna miss it, or how like maybe small things you'll miss, like small stupid things. You'll just be like, oh, dude, I missed that. This is gonna take forever to upload. I don't even know if it's gonna upload. It's probably gonna break. It's gonna be a whole problem for me. But I'm gonna do it anyway. Okay, I'm gonna get really stoned and eat breakfast soon. Yeah. Ready to go to work. I'm sorry that everyone gets to see me cry, man. I usually don't cry very much, man. Like, it's not... I get emotional about the people that I miss, man. Like, my situation sucks, right? But it's not anything to cry over. Not my situation. Like, it's, it's whatever. But I miss the people that I used to have. Like, I don't know, my emotional recall is very high, I guess, with bipolar disorder. So, like, like, what does that mean? That means that I can get pissed off about a situation from 20 years ago. I can psych myself up in a few seconds and be pissed off about a situation that happened 20 years ago. That means literally nothing. That has nothing to do with anything. So reliving the really hard moments, losing my father were a little difficult. And I just miss him. He brought a lot of good memories to me. So, yeah. I'm going to move on from that. Yeah. Oh, I love you, Grandpa. I know what I called him, Grandpa. Yeah. I just miss that dude so much. Yeah. Get ready to go to work. I hit the thrift store this morning. I didn't find anything. Like I say, yesterday there was a reseller that took all the good t-shirts at the Goodwill, so I didn't get anything. He got a bunch of cool shirts. I don't even know, like, yeah. So there was nothing there. Same thing here. I got here today. The demon was here. His cart was full of stuff, but I didn't look like they put any stuff out. He had like cookware and weird, goofy stuff that I don't mess with. And there were just so many resellers in the store this morning. It just sucked. It's so frustrating, man. It's so demotivating. It's like, why even go to the thrift store? Because, like, if there was something good in there, chances are somebody got it. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I don't know. That's that glass half empty stuff. But I'm going to end it off. It's literally an hour, and I feel like nobody's going to watch it. But I'm going to put it up anyway. It's my thing. It's going to be about my grandfather. I hope everyone has a good day, man. I'll see you guys. Merry Christmas. Hope you have a better day. I was feeling pretty good before I started this, and I'm going to try and make sure I feel pretty good by the time I get to work. So, I'm not... I am depressed, but, like, I feel okay. I just miss my grandpa, and talking about it makes me emotional.